Well, after 22 years, Cardiff City are back in the third tier. Unbelievable weekend and should have beaten West Brom. But the writing's been on the wall for ages, and finally, that's all she wrote for Cardiff City. We've got Jamie and James to give their views on that game and the season overall, and we're hearing lots of chatter for Tan out. Is it time for some sort of protest to get him to sell the club? Are you going to come straight back up with Tan in charge? Also, people are demanding Ramsey considers leading them in League One. We'll get our summer wishes and what's the best away trip you've been on this season, as you, of course, head, of course, to the final one at Norwich on Saturday. Jamie, commiserations to both of you, first of all. Gutted for you both. I know how much it'll hurt. But to be fair, both of you have called it throughout the last number of weeks. This is going to happen. Jamie, your overall thoughts?
Too little, too late. The best way I could describe it yesterday, it felt like we were on a life support machine, and the doctors finally come over and said, "Listen, there's no life. We're switching it off." And today is a day of mourning. I think it comes down to a number of things. If, buts, maybes, yes. But the definite is there's people at the top of our club that unfortunately aren't directing the club in the appropriate way. I think we've discussed on previous episodes. This is the only time, really, but it's not a fluke, should I say. We've only finished positively once in the last 4 seasons, so we've had our time now, I think.
Yeah, James, I hate the term circling the drain, but lots of commentators I heard yesterday talking about it on the radio, saying they've been circling the drain. If you circle the drain long enough, at one point you will go down, and you've hinted yourself, you've not had teams with point deductions this time to save you. Was this inevitable even before the season kicked off at some point?
Not inevitable before the season kicked off, just because obviously we sort of had a decent enough season last season. But yeah, obviously when it sort of come to appointing a new manager, and then it took so long to make a decision, and Rizzo was given the job permanently, and then obviously the sort of run we went on then, where we were losing games and like no changes were made with that, that's when it sort of started to see that this was going to be a disaster. And obviously Rizzo should have gone a long time ago, again probably after the Luton game. And yeah, to be honest, when you've got a board that don't care really about the club, and is going to catch up to you one day.
Yeah, those key games, isn't it? I mean, look, one more win. In fact, if it had gone in against West Brom, like it nearly did in some scrambles, Jamie, you're still in the hunt, aren't you?
Yeah, but I think
points given the results.
Yeah, but again, we go back to the last 3 probably home games. Stoke, if but maybes, late goal. We've had plenty of chances. Oxford, the same thing. It's a 1 in 100 shot that goes top bins. You have to take your hat off for that, as much as that hurts. And then again, the results don't go our way. I mean, the Coventry own goal was just comedy gold, in my opinion. It was just almost like when that happens, it's not meant to be. It's not for a one to try in the last 2 games, in my opinion. Like James said there, there's one man that kept faith with Rizzo for too long. That's our owner. I didn't personally like the things that Omar Rizzo's been putting on Instagram. Even yesterday, he's putting all the pictures of his handshakes with previous managers, wishing everyone all the best. And I'm thinking, it doesn't look probably as good as it should be. But listen, this is, again, I think vast majority of Cardiff fans have almost it's hard to swallow. We've got to take the punches and the banter from Swansea and from everyone else, because we'd be giving it ourselves. But yeah, it's a sad day. And like I said, I think the only solace is that a lot of people will be able to take off new grounds next year.
Well, I was going to ask you that, Jamie. I'll go to that now. I mean, yeah, what you got? 23 different visits. Well, apart from Plymouth and whoever else. Is there some part of you that looks forward to travelling different parts of the country? I know it's a rubbish league.
Listen, I was lucky enough. I went up to watch one of our loanies up in Stevenage Thursday night. So seeing what that's like, Exeter, great places, because ultimately they're not these massive stadiums. Excuse the background noise. I'm just down in Newport watching the women's final. But a 3-1 now. Ironically, the Cardiff women are lifting the trophy, hopefully. But no, it is. It's going to be an adventure. There's going to be more memories to be made with fans. And again, I always say to my kids this: sporting a big top 6 Premier League side, you're not going to have adversity. You're going to have, it'd be the same sort of thing every week. This is what football means to me. It's not going to always go well. But you'll remember these days because ultimately it's not necessarily what's on the pitch. You remember the days around it, the travel. And like I said, Stephen is your way, sign us up.
Brilliant. Right, James, let's get into the social media takes that we've had then. Welsh Viking says, until Tan goes, the bad decisions continue whatever level we find ourselves at. People thinking Tan will have some moment of enlightenment and suddenly start making solid football decisions living in cuckoo land. Tan and the board out. They've killed the club. Do you agree, James? Is it time for some sort of uprising?
Yeah, 100%. And it's been the case for years and years. And to be honest, nothing is going to happen until the Salah cases come to an end, because obviously with that going to court and stuff and Tan wanting the money from that, yeah, we won't be getting rid of Tan anytime soon until that Salah case is over.
Yeah. Ramsey had something to say in his comments, which I thought was quite interesting. Let's see what you both think of this. I don't know if we're reading too much into it, but Cardiff fans have. He said that, I think if the right structures are in place with coaching staff and things, these players will give you everything. And he went on to say that actually they should be finishing somewhere near the top of the side. Jamie, I read into that, him basically having a bit of a sideways dig at Reza there, saying actually the players weren't giving them everything.
1000%. You echo exactly what I said to my friends this morning. I watched it when I was less emotional. I watched it this morning, and there was things like you said, structure. You know where he's directing that at. He's directing at the board, but it was things like he said about the information the players receive on the pitch, and during the game they needed a bit more, relevant information and things like that. When you're in a position where we are, I know a lot of management now, they look at tablets, they look at stats, but I think a lot of the time you've got to manage, the players, you've got to be shouting, you've got to be barking orders at them to be able to direct them. I do think Aaron Ramsey's right there. I mean, the way I see it is, he lives and breathes Cardiff. He openly admitted that he'd not had the playing time that he would have wished due to his injuries and stuff. But it hurts him, and that's what we want to see. We want to see, when you're going through these moments, that it actually matters to people, because it matters to us as fans. And at times, maybe we could argue some of the players, it didn't feel like it mattered to them. But yesterday, the scenes they weren't very nice. You had Yusuf Salah crying, and he's only been here for 6 months, but he's fully given his all. But whatever happens, like I think Ramsey talked about in his press conference, if the structure's in place, maybe we'll be okay. But if it's not, then let's be brutally honest, we're going to be in for a reality check in League One.
Cheers for that. And finally, James, Josh says about Ramsey, says, I have to say about him, he oozes class. He will be a manager at the highest level in years to come. Change has been dramatic since he took over less than a week ago. Imagine if the club was in a fit state on the hierarchy. Do you think there's any chance that when the season kicks off at Port Vale in August, Ramsey's there as your manager? Or do you not see that?
It is hard to call. It's hard to call because the thing is, you never know what you're going to get from this sport, because with the relegation now, is important. Obviously, we get the next managerial appointment right, and we've said that a lot of times now over the last sort of season or two. But this one is the most important now because, if we want the best chance of going up now next season, then we have to get everything right, and that starts with everything that's sort of off the pitch as well. And I think, to be honest, whoever the manager is and whoever the players are, and all that, you'll see now with the players who go and who stay, who's up for the fight and who's not. And I think the message needs to be that promotion is the goal, and anything else is a failure, and that needs to be the standard set from day one. To be honest.
Okay. Jamie, we best let you go and watch the trophy presentation. And just before we let you go, what's been your favourite away trip this season? Because you've been on every single one of them, I think.
Miss QPR because my sister's wedding. Favourite away trip? Do you know what? I think Blackburn and Sheffield. Sheffield United. I think because Blackburn we won, it was great. But ultimately, I think Sheffield United was different. It was, we almost felt like we were going down at that point. So it felt like almost it's about the memories. It's like I said, I know it sounds a bit daft, but it's the day around it, the people you spend it with. And again, you'll remember losing 7-0 at Leeds this year. You know, we were there to do that and stuff. So you've got to experience the lows in order to enjoy the highs. And like I said, you know, we will be back. I'm pretty sure we will, but things need to change. And like you said, that S word there, structure. We need the right structure that every person from Robert Earnshaw in previous years to what our players are calling for now.
Right. Well, we're going to leave that there for both of you. Thank you, both of you, so much. One more of these to go. We're going to be here next week to review the Norwich game and also have a look at what needs a little bit more detail in terms of players' ins and outs needed in the summer. Join us for that. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, James. And I cannot believe Cardiff City aren't going to be in this division next season. Ever presence. Tough pill to swallow. Thanks for joining us. Have a good week.